Oh boy, has it been a while. My phone notification as soon as I start recording. Great. Before it was a fan, now it's my phone. I don't know if you heard that. I have a filter on this. But I'm back. Hope you're all doing well. If you don't know who I am, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm the nobody. No, I'm Grobitz. What's up? And today, as requested, I will be breaking down my track, A Drink with Myself. Funny story about this track. This is exactly what it sounds like. I had some drinking problems, and I just kind of made a song about it. I don't really make too many songs about my personal life, but it's a healthy thing to do. I mean, you know, music is art. It's there for expression. I should do it more often, but yeah, I actually had to go to the ER last night, actually, because I was having a lot of pain and everything, and it was as bad as you can imagine. Like, in the abdominal area, I'm like, this is it. I'm fucked, you know? But turns out, I was just fucking constipated. And of course, I just have stomach issues and shit, and probably lupus, but nothing of the CANCER variety. Don't we really want to say that forbidden word? I just call it Charles. Anyway, so no Charles for me, thankfully. Thank the Lord above, thank God. But we're not here to discuss that. But this song took a while to develop, actually. It started off as a little, like, a joke track, because I don't really make these slow tracks too much. And then I kind of abandoned it for a couple of months, and then I came back to it, and I decided to, you know, title it that because it sounded like a very slow, like, okay, let me add some like ambiences to it, like liquidy stuff, and that it turned into like a more smooth, slow, liquidy thing. I'm like, okay, liquids. Oh, you know, the alcohol. There you go. Anyway, I didn't really export this out to audio because it was fine the way it was. Sometimes what I usually do, I used to be extremely meticulous and extremely careful with everything that I added, you know, like with the gaining. But I found that as long as nothing is clipping, all you gotta do is drop everything in. You don't really have to worry about the gaining too much. At least for me, I do this now, because I take things slower. And then afterwards, if nothing is clipping, you know, everything's at like maybe 0.01 in the master. Export everything out and master it. Mix it down later in audio form. You get a lot more control. And I didn't do that. Yeah, I didn't do that for this one. For this one, it was fine the way it was, thankfully. Let's take a listen to the song. Although you might have already heard it, but let's listen to the beginning. See what's going on. And there you have it. It was glitching a little, probably because of OBS. I have extremely high bitrate set on it, and I think I might need to get a new CPU soon. It's pretty old. I think I got it in 2019 or something. But yeah, pretty good. 6 cores, 12 threads. Anyway, Ryzen 5. Okay, we're not here to talk about CPUs. So, as you heard at the beginning, I have this like slow intro, which it sounds like it's gonna be pretty creepy or like dark, but then it turns very chill, like that. First thing that I have here is this little loop, which I just bring in with the high pass. I did some weird, cool little effects with phasing, gave it some delay, compressed it a bit so it doesn't like pierce your eardrums. And yeah, that's just kind of always there in the background. This is a little like rim loop. Most of the samples that I use for drums are actually either from the Cashmere pack, which I'm pretty sure is pretty old, or I just use the stock Ableton Live drums, which are very, very good, not gonna lie. And for this case, I did use the kick, pretty quiet, actually, around -12, and kind of just comes in, very bumpy, very thuddy, but then I cut off the bass completely because I have introduced a cashmere kick, and I have the top kick that used to be the main kick as a side kick. Get it? Okay. Anyway, it kind of just adds a cool little percussion there, acts almost like a tom. Then I added this cashmere snare, a little bit of a snap before it. You know, see, fuck, I forgot to like mix down. I forgot to like add equalization and shit. It doesn't really matter. You know, people are always telling you like, oh, you have to cut this, cut that. Like, you know, like when you get to have so much experience with music, you start to just not give a fuck about the tiny little details. And you start to realize that they don't really fucking matter. You start to realize that if you look at this on the equalizer, you don't really need to cut.
So that was a fucking lie.
Oh, shit. Okay, for this one, I guess you did need to cut. Okay, let me rephrase that. Some things, some samples are already pretty high frequency, so they barely have any bass. And sometimes cutting things too much can take away from its natural aspect, you know? Like music is electronic, yes, electronic music, but sometimes it's nice to add, you know, very organic elements. Maybe a piano, maybe delaying some things. In fact, I think I have some delayed elements here as well. Oh, I didn't do it this time. That's weird. I usually delay some instruments. Oh yeah, see, delaying forwards, delaying backwards, making things natural. And cutting, you know, frequencies too much can make everything sound pretty artificial. Plus, it could lead to phasing. So, but that's why you don't want to EQ your whole group. You want to EQ things individually. So, I added this little hat, which I didn't cut. But like you can see, here's an example. You don't really need to cut too much. So you might as well just leave it there. Anyway, that should pretty much complete all the drums. Oh, nope. So we got this top hat. Oh yeah, see, there we go. I delayed the top hat. So it kind of just meshes in the things. Like I said, it just being like a dry hit exactly where it is. It's nice to delay it a little bit, you know. This one as well. Actually, this one should have been more delayed because you'll hear it when it meets with the kick. When the kick meets with that hat, now that it's delayed a little bit, creates this nice little like soft. It kind of softens it up, you know, like it kind of like what you would do with a clap before delaying it before the kick. I did that with some of the elements, and then together they just kind of form this. Everything is really quiet. Did some, you know, some post processing on the drums. Don't mind this. I think that's actually oh yeah, it was for the beginning where I had everything high pass, so like it never met any like low frequencies. So, you know, just kind of like some general compression, you know, long attack, low release, pretty gentle ratio to be honest, but pretty aggressive on the threshold. Low medium curve on the saturator. So yeah, just some saturation compression, you know, your basic post-processing effects that you'd want on your drums. A little bit of a delay as like a padding sort of for the drums, reverb as well, but you know, as you can see, I've cut the bass. And those are the drums pretty much. You can probably tell that I don't really use my own drums. I haven't gone into the whole game of just making my own drums. It seems like a pretty big hassle. I've done it before. I've got some drums of my own, but you'll see that they are not as adequate. All right, so second element is actually, let's go in order. Okay, so we have this little reverse effect. I think it used to not be reversed. Yeah, so that's like a little loop I have from a pack. Kind comes in with, goddamn, I forgot how many effects they put on this. So the Haas effect, what it does essentially is that, like the way you would do it normally, the way you would do it, the way you'd see many people do it in actual studios, is that they would make two duplicates. I mean, a duplicate of the other, and then one is to the left and one is to the right, and they would delay it like that. That works. But if you're on Ableton Live, or anything with a channel rack, or like racks and stuff, what you could do is essentially do it, actually, for you guys from scratch here to show you. So, you'd got a delay. You'd group it, so Control-G. You'd open up this little channel area. You'd create 2 extra channels, or actually, sorry, 1 channel. And then in the delay channel, you create another channel, and this one's to the left, that one's to the right. You turn this up 100%, and you just delay it by about, I'd say, a maximum of 7 or 9 milliseconds is enough, because anything beyond that or lower than that can cause like a bit like a phasing. But there you go, that's the Haas effect. And what it it's got the name effect for a reason, because it's not actual stereo. It just creates the illusion of stereo. But in a way, it doesn't really matter. It's like how FM in the analog world is with actual, you know, pitch bend, like, you know, pitch modulation, but in the digital world, it's phasing. But you know, you know, it's like apples and oranges, you know, potato, whatever you want. Still, it's the same crap. Sub bass, serum, you know, a little bit of a pitch bend there, saturator, cutting below 30, which I think I should have done for the kick. You should always do that for your very low elements. Hitting at 120 because it'll start to get into the low mid territory. Anti-mono, which I learned this from Kashmir, actually, I think it was. Instead of pressing mono, because it's not exactly mono, it fuses. I think, if I remember correctly, it fuses the two channels that it created phasing. You could just click on here and choose to only hear the left side of it or the right side. And since this is a sine wave, it doesn't really matter. But just in case it's saturation or any weird digital artifact shenanigans causes any sort of stereo width, you're going to want to just, boom, there you go. Side chaining to the spooky kick, which, yes, big shocker, I barely use, like, automated sidechain. I sometimes do it, actually, quite a bit. But I barely use like LFO tool like I used to, or like a shaper box. What I do is that I get this. This is a pretty nasty kick to use for this. I don't know why I did that. This is, like I said, an old project. But what I would usually do is get like a very clean 808. So maybe if I look up 808 here, classic little 808, very short one or long one, whatever. But the cleanest one, like the one I use, is tone. Now that I remember, so I just get like, let's say, tone. I take away the warping and I turn it up all the way, and there you go. That's your little ghost kick, and you can see it's it's like as clean as you can get, and it gets the job done pretty well. I don't know why I use this kick, which is all over the place, you know, but I don't know. I guess I was feeling bold that day. Anyway, compression sidechain I used to hate, and now I just realized it's just the way you use it. So we got, for the instruments, I got a little wide sine here, so I just sine wave, you know, detune. Should have added some release. I don't know why I didn't, but got a little low sine wave. I mean, saw wave. You know, nothing too sophisticated. I'm noticing as I start getting more into my music career, like further in, I just keep getting more and more lazy. I don't know if I'm the only one. I used to be like a huge sound designer. Okay, so here's an actual sound, like an actual thing I made, which is just like by using like a, this is a pad that I made using these specific wavetables, like modulating from each other. Actually, the B is modulating from A, a little bit of like a low pass. It's just a synth that I got going on. Some distortion, very soft clip distortion, which is supposed to be forbidden. You're not supposed to put distortion on your chords, mate, but they did it. Anyway, below it, I think for effects, actually let's keep the instruments for let's finish the instruments first. Again, like more little vocal samples, which I don't even remember the pack, like what it's called, but. And I got like a shit ton of effects on this. Oh yeah! Oh my god, my ADHD. Yeah, I was talking about the Haas effect and I was going to talk about the vocal, and then I forgot. Okay, moving on with the vocal. After the Haas effect, I got some triggered like reverb that I pretty much only activated at the beginning, so because there's like a washed out intro. And then I have a chorus, 100%, very good plugin. You guys should try it out. I think it's I don't know the company, but maybe it's right in front of me. I'm not sure. Tal, of course, might be Tal. I don't know. Anyway, Fry Signal, of course, which I'm automating, I think. Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, because I wanted it to be very washed out. Okay, cool. Valhalla, Vintage Verb, love this plugin. I don't know why I have this skin. I want this skin. That's my favorite. Oh, what the hell's wrong? I changed so fast. Anyway, with a little bit like a sidechain on it. You know, sidechaining to itself. And delay, which I didn't sidechain. Have it sidechain to itself. I don't know why. I guess because, oh yeah, because it overtakes. It's like, you know, it like washes out. It's a little bit of a click at the end. I did not notice that. But yeah, have the delay kind of just like come up as like a little ending element. Like Alright. That's pretty much it for like the synths and stuff. And I don't know why I didn't group them all into a thing, but anyway, moving on to effects, like samples. I've got like this cashmere water bathtub thing. Hope it wasn't anything weird. But put a lot of reverb on it. I lowered the dry sing a little bit, so that, you know, the reverb is more prominent. Of course, I added sidechain and everything. Sidechain with the spooky kick. This is like a little like rain, sort of noisy, you know, with a Haas effect on it as well. Very quiet. This is just white noise, vinyl white noise, you know, vinyl noise. And the water, a little water effect, which I have echo from Live themselves. Surprisingly, he didn't actually put it in its own chain. It just kind of used a dry wet, which I always found forbidden, but I did it anyway for this. I guess I was lazy, or I wanted to soften it up. But that's really about it. And when it comes to structure, the way I did this one, I think I remember I did like the chorus. I think like I did the intro was like pretty much just drums, and then I did the chorus, you know, and then I think I was kind of like completely stumped at the end, and then I'm like, you know what? No, I started a lot of tracks with drums. It started with like, you know, like weird, wet, rainy sounds and all that stuff. Things that remind you of liquid, you know, like booze and shit. And yeah, that's about it. Build up, you know. I think the vocal I added last. I didn't really want vocals on this track. I don't really use too many vocals because I can't find any. But anyway, I think without the vocals, I kind of forgot how it sounded. Let me see. Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel as full, but yeah, and that's about it for the actual structure of the song. Oh yeah, that like bam, 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 bam. I recently discovered that Live has its own like little glitch plugin that's completely free, obviously, and it is actually really, really, really useful. I like it more than the other glitch plugins that you could buy. Where is it? Where did I put it? Did I put it on instruments or did I put it in like the master? Might have put it on them. I did. It's called Beat Repeat. And I just put it to be like on a fourth quarter. I mean, yeah. So for the mastering, I think everything is actually hitting pretty loud for the master, like without the master right now. But I'm around -6. I'm finding that like mastering at around -3, yeah, gets the song to be very loud and just, you know, doesn't really squash it. -6, you can also get it to be pretty loud, but you know, I don't know. I just like mixing things. I'm making shit up, but the truth is that I actually just can't mix things at -6. I always end them. They always end up at -3. Anyway, so you know, glue compressor, very low attack, high release, high ratio. You know, very pretty much non-existent compression, but just there. It's kind of there. And I turn up the makeup gain. Glue compressor, makeup gain. I have a flat multi-band compressor, which is just kind of there for no reason. I just added it so I could turn up the bands individually. In this case, I didn't really need to differentiate them in game-wise. They all sounded pretty much exactly tame, so I just turned them all up at the same time. I didn't really mess around with maybe turning down the mids or anything, because they all sounded pretty much fine individually and together. And added a bit of like added a saturator with soft sign. I don't really mess around with anything. I just kind of just drop it in there. You know, sometimes I add some bias and here and there, but the DC, I don't even know what it does or what it's called, but I know that when there's clipping or like a crunch that I don't like, I turn it on and it works. I got to study up on that. I think I could. There's like an actual like Ableton manual that I could tap into, maybe with latent powers and abilities dormant for so long within my body, also known as the info tab. But anyway, Soothe. My friend recommended me this plugin, and it's so good. Friend Ravonix, check out his music. Very, very talented dubstep artist. I don't know where I'd be in the mixing without this. Before I'd had, you know, you'd have to kind of just go in here and you'd like listen for frequencies and, you know, and that's pretty outdated because they cause comb filtering. And yeah, of course, you don't have to, you wouldn't do it all the way, but still, like, bro's looking like Dracula over here. But no, that can cause some, you know, weird comey effects. And Comey from Comey can't communicate. I meant to say comb dash y. Anyway, so I use Soothe. You should check out Soothe. TDR Nova as well. Special place in my heart. I only, you know, actually activated the 2.5 k hertz area. So you know, like the screechy part of the frequency spectrum, like in those shows where the teacher scratches the whiteboard to get students' attention. That's like where that is, and definitely don't want that in your music. It just kind of turns it down a little, very, very gently. I don't know what this does. What the fuck? Oh, that's cool. It's like a smoother. That's pretty cool. TDR Nova, completely free, by the way. All right, just cut at 30, cut above 20k. You know, as you would do, or 18k. I do 20k. Turn up the highs a little bit, lower the screechy area, raise up the mids a bit. You know. Didn't really mess around with the mid inside, not the mid at all, but like I added a lot of stereo width. And yeah, just Pro L, nothing crazy, limiter, and yeah. Last thing I'll say before I end off the video, very important that if you want your song to be loud, don't look for peak loudness. I think I saw this in a tutorial, I can't remember, or maybe I discovered it myself. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. But I tell my friends this. I told them that what you want to look for is the RMS. Oh yeah, so yeah, root meet squared. So like shorter sounds, even though like two sounds that are exactly the exact same volume, right? But the shorter one will always sound quieter than the longer one, because the longer the sound, you know, continues for, the longer we perceive it as loud. It's the same, you know, loudness, but it's not the same perceived loudness, which is what matters, and that's what RMS is. Anything at -8 is pretty good loudness. The stuff that you'd usually hear on Spotify and YouTube Music is like around here. It's extremely loud. Sometimes it might even be -8, and it would be louder than something that was -6. It's just the frequency spectrum and the way that, you know, dynamic range and all that stuff works. You know, or is perceived, really just depends on the track and the specific elements. It's very unstable, and I wish it wasn't like that. But that's just the way it is. And yeah, you could technically, if you want to bump it up, you could turn this up. But you know, you're gonna have to want to adjust some of these settings when you do that, or else you'll get the squashies, and you don't want the squashies, or else it'll sound like a fucking tube sausage. That's about it for the song. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Never really done something like this before, but if you enjoyed, smash like, subscribe. I don't know when the fuck I started saying that, but anyway, see you guys next time. And I can't fucking believe that I didn't add a cowbell at the end of the song. That's my signature. That's like the thing that says Grauwitz was here. It's like, oh, that was a Grauwitz track the whole time? Oh, now I know that I heard the cowbell. Alright. See you next time. Bye-bye. And seriously, I will remix Barbie. Subscribe, 280.